Welcome, everyone. We are so thankful that you are here with us again today. My name is Naomi Harm, and I will be your online facilitator. It looks like we have a full house of great, compassionate educators and administrators joining us today. Once again, on behalf of CUE, the California Educational Organization, with a partnership with Microsoft Education, we can afford to bring all of these wonderful opportunities of learning to model best practices for blended, online, and remote teaching and learning to support you during your summer months, but also hopefully when you come back after our fall session that should start to accommodate new learning to support your pandemic learning needs. I know a lot of us are kind of in an uneasy playing field right now. We don't know if we'll be back full time, be back as a blended or as remote learning. So this session is going to share with you all kinds of best practices that if it's truly remote learning, that we still will be home. And then if we come back part-time, and then also if we come back full-time. Once again, I'm going to be using Pear Deck today, and I have Pear Deck embedded as an add-on in my PowerPoint online with the OneDrive slide deck today. So I am going to actually start with presenting with Pear Deck, and then that's going to refresh my page in a moment. And then I have a choice of presenting as a student-paced model or an instructor-paced model. So I'm going to do it instructor-paced because I want to make sure that my content gets passed off to you, that you can be truly engaged in this learning moment. So I'm going to go to Pear Deck and you'll see my page refresh. It will take just a second here. And this is what I'd like you to do after the page comes. It's going to ask you to join with this code. So if you could at this time, teacher friends, I'd like you to open up another tab. You can go to joinpd.com. And I'd like you to put in this code of MTHRK. And it's always funny how they make that little acronym. It says, Misty Turnips Help Red Kangaroos. We make it fun for the kids. And I'll wait for everybody to get connected before we get started any further. I can see right away how many students are in and when they join. So again, joinpd.com, and then add the link, or I should say the characters of MTHRK. I can see that I have one of you in the room so far, and I think there was at least about a dozen of you. So we'll try to get as many as we can in there. I myself am going to write this code down just in case somebody asks to come in after the fact so that they can be part of this too. We don't want to leave anybody out. But I can easily share from my teacher interface that I can easily get the students to the children instantly. And I can also embed these links right away into my Google Classroom or into my Microsoft Teams environment. So it works on any platform. That's the beauty of this. We call this a DNA tool, device basically agnostic tool, or a neutral, so DNA device neutral application, right? And I'll wait just a little bit more. By doing this, you'll get to be full participants in the learning. And that's what I love about this, because it gives you more choices than just adding reflections in the back channel chat. It can empower us to draw. It can empower us to do a voting mechanism. It can empower us to do a quick write. We can add pictures to represent how we're feeling and kind of where we're at. So again, teacher friends, if you could join at joinpd.com by opening up a separate tab and then adding MTHRK. You'll probably have a little button that'll say when you go to joinpd.com, it'll say join a session, and then you'll put in that particular character code that you have. Okay, we are going to get started. So if you just want to be a participant and just watch, that's fine, but I'd like you to be active if you can. So if you've written that down, you can always join after the fact too. So I'm going to start our class. So what you're going to see now is that we have our full screen here that I have. I'm also going to, I have another opportunity that I can open up for myself. It's my teacher dashboard, and I can open up a whole nother tab. So I want to show you that as a teacher now, I can actually see the content in a whole nother tab structure. So I see my deliverables at a given time. And then I can instantly see how the students are responding. And I can see I have 5 students in here right now, which is beautiful. Now I can always tab back over, and now I can see my full presentation of what the students see. So that really helps me as an individual today to see what is happening. Okay. So again, my name is Naomi Harm. I am joining you from beautiful Cave Creek, Arizona. I'm very fortunate to live where I do. It's considered a rural area because it's just around, population is 5,000. We're about 40 miles north of Phoenix. And in this area, I still have to have a landline because our internet, even though we've got a pretty good mega pipe coming into our house, you can stay connected. But every once in a while, we have an outage, and we have kind of flaky internet service and our cell service. So we're blessed to have what we have, but it's amazing how we have really identified through this pandemic of the digital divide of what's happening. Now, what I'd like you to do right now, teacher friends, on your screen, what you should be seeing now is that I would like to introduce the stress check. You should have the ability at this time that you will have a little red dot in the corner of the left side that you should be able to drag and drop of your stress check about how are you feeling currently even this week? Are you in a good place and you can focus as a learner? Are you right in the middle? Something is bothering you, but you can still focus on content? Or are you struggling to manage your emotions or behaviors? So if you can take that dot and drag and drop that dot, that would really help me. Okay. Then with that, is it working for you or not working for you?
I don't think I see the dot.
Oh, okay. Let's try this one then.
Yeah, I don't see a dot either, Naomi.
Okay. So I was trying my best to get it to work, so maybe something's not. What normally should be happening, teacher friends, on this screen, that when you are logged in to joinpd.com, you need to be on that tab, and that tab would allow you in the bottom corner a dot that you can drag and drop. Let's see if we can get here. See if it looks any different for you. No. Okay.
No, it just shows that it's we're on slide 3 of 44.
Okay. So even in my other slide here, let's see if this will be any different, because what I should see you that you're on here. Let me make, and if I turn it differently, let's undo. Just trying to give some options just in case I can get it to work for you. Okay. Let's see if this will work. I'm going to try one more strategy. Okay. Yeah, it's still presenting the same way because I should see my students paste mode and in there. If you're using the Google environment, it does work really well because it'll give you this bottom left dot that you drag and drop. And these are some of the quick breaks to allow to check on students for their understanding. So teacher friends, I'm assuming it's my error, my end user error, not anything that any of you did. That it's not playing back. And I thought, I want to try this in this environment. I've used it with Google many times, but what I'm seeing right now, it is not coming up. So what would normally happen, so let me get back to our main slide deck for you. Thanks for being patient. What would normally happen is that I could instantly see how the children can identify how they're feeling, what's happening, and it's going to help me do individual check-ins, because let's say if our class is landing and saying, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now and this is great, but then I can also see that I got a student that's not doing very good with their emotions. I may need to make a personal phone call to their home or have a separate webinar just with that child to ensure that they're feeling safe. What are they struggling with? So within Pear Deck, you have a whole collection that are called social emotional learning slides. They're for any grade level, and that's why I really truly like them. So sorry it's not working like it should, but we'll figure it out why it isn't. But glad that I still can show you with kind of where we're at. Now, our purpose and why we're here today is that we're going to review a few research statistics on how Generation Z and Generation Alpha students are learning. But then we're also going to be looking at best teaching practices for remote teaching and learning strategies with your students. And then I'm going to be modeling and having you participate in some really engaging collaborative remote learning activities that you can differentiate the types of learning structures that can help with your kiddos that you're working with. So these are some strategies that I have personally worked with teachers in school districts, and since the pandemic has hit, that I've co-taught online with students to empower them and to meet them where they're at, to help them feel safe, build their learning confidence, but then also to empower them with something that they're truly interested in. So this would have been another reflection slide here that we have, where I would check in with the students now and as you as learners today, and I would say, hey, let's list 2 remote teaching and learning strategies that are working well for you and your students. Normally then on this slide, you can instantly type, or if you have a tablet device, you should be able to actually write with, if you have a stylus or things like that. So for the time saving sakes, what I'm going to do in our back channel chat today, if you could please at this time go back to hover over to get to your chat, and I'd like you to share with me 2 remote teaching and learning strategies that are working well for you and your students, because I'd really like to know, what are you doing that's differently with your students? What are you doing that you know that you've met their needs, especially if they have been challenged in a learning area, or your students have a different type of disability that you've had to accommodate? I'd love to learn from you on that. So in the back channel chat area, if you could identify 1 or 2 things, we'd love to learn from you. Wonderful. Somebody's already said quizzes and Google Slides. Absolutely. Kids like kind of that little competition and some other things that they're doing. Absolutely. Some kids don't like the competition, so they want something more collaborative. Ooh, breakout sessions in Zoom. That's right. YouTube channels. That's right. YouTube just came out with a channel that's called YouTube Camp. So C-A-M-P. It's all kinds of wonderful learning for your students, and the kids just love it. So since I've said that, I'm going to go away from this presentation just for a minute, just so that you can see another option here since you've mentioned that. And here are the videos on Learn at Home with YouTube Camp. I mentioned this in my session the other day, teacher friends. So this is one that what you can do, it gives your children and your students an opportunity to look at deeper learning, staying active and healthy, a focus on sports, arts, STEM, and adventure. And then, so let's say if I wanted something to do with STEM, I can click on that. And this is going to help me for families with teens that you want to work on items with STEM, or families with kids under 13 as well too. And it gives you great playlists and episodes for the kids. Hands-on, making things at home, learning about our environment. It's really a lot of fun. So again, this particular link is called Learn at Home. And I'm going to just back this up a minute, and I'm going to copy this link for you so that you have it, and I'll put it into the back channel chat. Okay, let's put it in here for you. There you go. Okay. Once again, thank you so much. Some of you are saying some of the learning is not working well. What can we do differently? As the official school year ended in May, so some of you use Remind that I'm looking on here that you're sharing with me. Intentional chatting in a Teams channel, yes, can work for some of your students. Absolutely. But I'm glad that you're offering some learning opportunities for them. But I hear a lot of teachers that say, Naomi, it's just plain not working. We need some different strategies. So let's think of how we can do something different. I'm going to close that particular window out at this time. I'm also going to close this one out. Let me just cancel that for a minute. Thank you, teacher friends. Now, let's continue on to learn more about Generation Z. These kids in particular, these are our kids that are actually at the 4th grade level, all the way up to the high school level, and have already entered the workforce or are finishing college. These particular students are amazing, first of all, but they are the most diverse population in the world currently. They trust their peers more than they do us sometimes as educators, and even their elders or their parents or grandparents. But they're really driven to help others. They've got a social call in mind, and they love to be kind of their own boss, you could say. They want to make decisions. They want to be part of that learning conversation. But then a lot of them have this entrepreneurial spirit. They love to make, they love to tinker, and many of them say right now they want to own their own business. That's what I find, which is fascinating. This is coming from McCrindle Research. So on this link that I have for you, that's going to take you to the research page. Now, I do have a video, but due to the playback at this time, what's really important is that I have this in here for you, and it's a longer video clip. And we only have an hour today, and this clip is over 5 minutes with some others. But I wanted to give you some best practices to share back with your students. So this is something that you can go back to after the fact that I use with a lot of teachers so that we understand their mindsets of where they're coming from. Some other things to think about: our educational workforce of our future, what is it going to look like? They say right now that by the year of 2030, 40% of the jobs that are currently in existence will be obsolete. I mean, that's incredible when you think about that. That means that a lot of the computer science, the robotics, the types of technology are going to take over some of our mainstream jobs that we won't need anymore. Now, that also is going to impact this generation of students who are Generation Z and part of our millennial generation of young adults. And what's going to happen there is that those particular workers are going to be out of a job if they don't know how to adapt to be more flexible in their thinking and be able to learn in a collaborative setting. That means that their jobs are also going to be automated. So that shift in thinking is that we need to help our kids be more flexible, adaptable, diversified, learning from others. And when we look at the year 2025, which is only 5 years away, 48% of the human workforce will be interfacing with work, and it's going to shift to now more. 52% is going to be machine or algorithm-based workforce. That is really eye-opening. And so what can we do to prepare these kids for an automated world? So right now in the back channel chat, if you could add, what jobs can you relate to that have been automated in the last 5 years? Even anything in special education, what's changed in 5 years? What's changed when you go out, when you're safely social distancing right now? What's been automated? Yes, right away. Self-checkouts, right? Exactly. You can go to the grocery store, and we have one in our area that 90% is self-checkout, and they only have 2 lines now. That's all they have left to go through to work with somebody individually to check out your groceries. Banking, somebody said. Absolutely. We do a lot of our banking. You can use your app on your phone, scan a check, have it automatically deposited. Yes, lots of things. Making money transfers, things like that. Yes, online shopping. Oh my goodness, that has been just a godsend, hasn't it, this time for this pandemic? Absolutely. Yeah, the fry machine. Yep, fries. The fry machine at McDonald's. Yes, okay. Everything's been automated. It's kind of like a robotic system that it can get preloaded. It can cook. The sensor goes off, and then it can actually be dumped out into an area. Absolutely. Yeah, lots of telemedicine is taking place. That's right. Lots of telemedicine. Right. Anything related to special education have you seen? It'd be interesting to know what has changed for your kiddos that way. We're seeing a lot of voice technology. Absolutely. Yes, immersive reader. Somebody said it. That's great. Immersive reader is an absolutely beautiful tool Microsoft has developed that you can transcribe. And I could have turned it on in my presentation today, but some teachers get too overwhelmed with it because I talk, as you can hear, quite quickly, and it's going to have a rolling stream of verbalization kind of playing back that whole time that you'll see the text. So it's voice to text is what it is. Well, let's look at a few more things of how all of this is being automated to help our kids. So the biggest thing, even with our special needs children, is that we have to model future-proofing skills for every child of every ability to be successful in their learning. What that means is we need to be modeling more adaptive emotional intelligence mindsets in our classrooms for online and face-to-face. We also have to demonstrate more active listening to understand instead of always responding, but then how to model critical thinking and have verbal think alouds with our kids, how to solve that problem. We also, as educators, need to model more empathy-based communication. We need to ask more clarifying questions. We also need to have more opportunities that children can truly collaborate, whether you use breakout rooms for learning, whether you use choice boards of differentiated learning, having two kids work on a final project, we call that a dynamic duo, or three kids on a project as a transformative trio, that every child has a job task and a responsibility to be successful with the overall end product. But we have to continually to model with our students to learn on that continuum that they too are a lifelong learner, and their future workforce depends on it, that they have to constantly rethink, readapt, they have to relearn, and it's going to be a continuum as we move forward to stay up, to be successful in our jobs. Now, one thing that we have learned best with these Generation Z students, and I'll tell you a little bit about Alpha in a minute, but we need to deliver content in smaller, snackable, bite-sized chunks of information. We as teachers are so overwhelmed. I don't know about you, but during all of this, I am overwhelmed with so much information coming at me with the technology. We need to slow down. We need to have more time to process. And the processing time for our children, especially that have a special need or a different type of ability, all it takes sometimes is just more think time from 3, 7, 10, even 15 more seconds that they can process. They can retrieve that working memory from their back quadrant, bring it to their frontal lobe, and then verbalize it or to reflect on that learning. We need to have more types of sensory learning and identifying how those children learn best. Because if we only verbalize and we only give direct instruction, we are setting our kids up for failure. Because our kids really are this YouTube generation, even our special needs children. We need more opportunities for them to make, do, and tinker. And a lot of our kids right now will watch a YouTube video first to apply something later, or they'll watch the YouTube video for 30 seconds, stop and pause, and then apply. Then turn the video on again for another minute, stop it, and then pause, reflect, and then try it in a different tab or browser that they're trying to apply that learning strategy. So their strategy is they want to watch, they want to demonstrate, and then they want to create. But at the same time, allowing them to do smaller, snackable size chunks of that content will allow for more deeper learning and deeper thinking. They're going to ask more questions. They're going to help lead the discussion, and they're going to help with peer coaching. So smaller is better. Here's some other things to think about of strategies. Smaller collaborative groups are also better. Large, big groups of learning is not the best, as we know, for our special students, and especially actually our general population. Social collaborative groups is what they're looking for, but also that individual time to process and reflect. And I heard, and I saw I'm listening to your back channel chat that you're sharing as well. Choice of personalized learning pathways. Choice is important. We can have structured learning that elements of modules or activities that they must cover because they need to build new content knowledge, but then giving them choice to branch off into a subtopic that they can choose to strengthen their understanding is really important. But also, passion-based interest projects are really powerful for kids. It can still relate back to what must be covered in the classroom, but a passion for them to show their genuine interest and how they're learning outside the classroom can actually build stronger relationships between you as a teacher and your students in the classroom. Here's some other things to think about for these kiddos. I like to chunk things out into small chunks, but then I use a lot of different strategic plans, such as different creative graphic organizers, because the kids then feel they're not so overwhelmed with the information, and then they can chunk it that they feel that they're in control of that learning. So offering designer and maker challenges, that's important for a lot of our kids. We need to think like an entrepreneur and to design like an engineer. We want them to put on this new hat that they feel that they're empowered and they are a new creative designer in their classroom. We also need to support it with real world causes. They need to see themselves in the shoes of others to empathize, to appreciate, to build compassion, and see how they can help transform their world and to contribute to be a solutionist in their learning. We also want them to be active participants, and we want them to be contributors of their futures, basically, to build new global solutions. When I was in my classroom and my kids that had differing abilities, and especially some that had some special needs that really were struggling in some areas, when I gave them a challenge with something that they could truly identify that they were personally interested in, I made sure I afforded those children the opportunity to be a peer coach to another student so that they too can be successful with teaching another student something that they were truly interested in. Sometimes our children that are our most off-task kids or might have an impairment in one area, all of a sudden can be the strongest coach or teacher to another student. And that is building stronger relationships between your kids and your classrooms. Maker challenges and design challenges with these students. Also, I'm seeing less off-task behavior. They're actively listening more, and their attention span is actually lengthening. And that's something that I found just incredible with the kids I've worked with. Now, let's look at some learning feedback also from all of this. Can you summarize 2 interesting points of what you've just found most interesting? Something that we just shared. Some of you are already chatting in the back channel chat, I see. So if I would have been using the Pear Deck, what happens here is sharing information. See, I'm chunking it out and I'm modeling that strategy. This is where students could come in and share 2 important, interesting points that they've just learned. So if there's something that you have just learned that we just talked about, those strategies of how Gen Z learns, please add 2 summarization points that resonated with you. As we continue on, I want to give you some more information. Then I've got all these great tools I want to share with you. But Generation Alpha students, these are our next generation of kids. These are the kids that are born starting 2011, 2012, and they will be continuing to be born from 2000 up to about 2025 or maybe a little beyond. But these are our littles. We call them our littles. These are our children from 8 years old all the way down to that preschool level and being born yet. These children are entirely born in the 21st century, and they are the children of our millennial parents. They are the most technology-infused demographic up to date. So it's to them, having a device in their hand and touch and interacting with it is something that they do all the time. I see these children too, that when they're working, let's say with a laptop that doesn't have touch interaction, they're constantly touching their screens. I find myself on my own tablet, I use it for touch, right? And then I get to a laptop that doesn't have that touch interface. I'm touching my laptop screen. So I'm doing the same thing because it's how we're learning. But these children too are really technology proficient with navigation at times. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to use technology appropriately. That's why we need to model that more frequently with them. They're not afraid to use like even AI technology, the artificial intelligence. So when it comes to using Alexa or Google Home, their voice automation right now is helping them actually tell their story. We have kids that work with routines with this. So the little girl with the Legos, that's my 6-year-old granddaughter. She uses the artificial intelligence with Alexa to help her get up in the morning. So it sets basically her timer. That timer is not necessarily a timer, is a musical composition that she's chosen to wake her up with a different collection of musical notes and tones. So she knows to get up in the morning. And then she's got a reminder right away to go and have a healthy breakfast. And then from there to go brush her teeth. And then from there to make sure that she takes her little backpack or items as she goes back to daycare or eventually when she goes back to school. It's really streamlined the task that parents normally have to sometimes even fight with kids to get them to do things. And now it's automated. So it's really kind of streamlined their life. So it's interesting. That's the automations we're talking about. We need Generation Z and Generation Alpha students to be creating these types of technology products to help streamline efficiency and productivity for our future. And we can already see that it's starting. I have another brief video clip that you can watch after this presentation today, and it's all about what Generation Alpha has to say about technology. And this one's coming out of the UK, and it's absolutely adorable. And I love it because it really gives insight of how they learn, why they learn, and how they want to be the future creators of the YouTuber generation. Now, the other thing that I mentioned earlier is that our Generation Z kids love design challenges. They love to create and make. This generation of kids is almost to the extreme. They love it to any type of moment that they can learn with. As an example, the other night, my granddaughter called me on, we have a Marco Polo chat app where she can talk to me in real time or I can watch the video later. She left a chat there with me, a video chat, because of course I'm in a different time zone. I'm making dinner. So I got to it after the fact. And she said, Nana, which she calls me for my name, for Nana Naomi, you've got to call me back. We have to try the science experiment that I just learned about. So you could see how excited she was. I could see the inflection in her voice. I could see her context facial clues. She was so excited. So of course I called her back and then we went on a different video chat app and she demonstrated to me what she learned of how to create her own prototype of a container that could hold her most precious items. So she learned about this on the YouTube Camp channel. And so what she did is she had a little Pringles can or something that they had that was empty. She proceeded to take out a piece of paper in front of me and she says, I'm going to show you how you can make your own special container to put your things in, Nana. She took this 8 by 11 inch piece of paper. She says, I need to know what the circumference is. She put the Pringles can down. She traced the bottom. She proceeded to cut out. And she says, this is the circumference of a circle. And I'm thinking, she's 6 years old. She just learned the term circumference. I thought, oh my goodness. She used the other strips to cover the outside of the container. She used tape. She had to measure how much she needed. And then she says, there you go. Now you have a special container. All you need to do is decorate the outside. It just blew me away what she was doing right there in front of me. So that's one thing. They learn from the YouTube kids, and then from there, they want to be creators, and they want to be these social entrepreneurs. Even our children with differing abilities, they have the greatest potential to be the creators of their futures too. Here's a few other little things. You have already known this. Kids learn great in small collaborative groups. And our diverse generation of learners also sometimes just want independent group thinking and design time. They want to process and they don't want to necessarily be influenced by others as they want that quiet time. We need to allow that think time. We need to let them have that quiet time. Absolutely. But we also need to afford them those choice of personalized learning pathways. And again, that passion-based interest projects. We need to find out what makes our students with those differing abilities, what makes them tick. And we've got to find out what it is to help drive that instruction, to help kids be the ownership in their learning. Okay, now after this, there are children that are born from about 2026 to 2040. They're going to be called our Generation Beta students. So you can only imagine what's going to happen after our Alpha students. They're going to be driving their own learning. What's going to happen next? And these kids will be social entrepreneurs. They're going to be creating amazing things with AI technology. They will be creators of the companion robots that will be put into like my home as I become an elder in my 70s, 80s, or 90s. And I'll have a companion robot in my home because it's this generation of the alpha and the betas. They're going to help me be more self-sufficient and I don't have to worry about going to a nursing home. So that's going to be something to think about too. So automating that. Our nursing homes futuristically could be obsolete. That could be happening. So again, that's something to think about. That's how those jobs will be automated. So here's another connection of a connection that you can use with Pear Deck. This is called a visual literacy conclusion. Draw anywhere on the slide to reflect your thinking on your new learning connections about Generation Alpha and how well prepared you are as an educator. So this would be one that I would offer as learners too, if it would be working, and it's currently not working for me today. So this is another way that kids can get their immediate learning connections, and it gives you an authentic assessment feedback as a teacher. So you can see what they're thinking. So that's another one. If you want to add more insight into the back channel chat with typing today, not a problem. Here's some other things to think about with some learning strategies that you can add to your digital toolbox, and I have all kinds of resources for you teacher friends. So number one, more than anything, is that we need to support the families of our students with special needs and differing abilities. Why that is so important is because we have to build that social emotional learning connection and stronger relationships with these parents. So parents feel that they can be successful, they feel that they're part of the collaboration with the teacher, and that they can afford to feel more confident offering learning activities, choice opportunities in their home environment without just giving up and doing nothing for these kids. I put together a collection for you, and this is coming from K through 12 Blueprint. And the K through 12 blueprint.com site, I worked with Intel Education in April, and I was a lead author with Paige Johnson and a team of amazing women leaders. These are all kinds of remote learning resources for parents, because if we don't get parents on board to support our students with special needs, those children will be totally bored at home. They're going to be a struggle and a challenge. And then also at the same time too, that could cause more trauma, and we don't want that. So with these handouts, they're like one-sheeters, and meaning then I have an activity, an opportunity of learning, and how to best meet the needs of our students with the most diverse learning abilities. These are getting active in physical activities, brain breaks, how to set up your own remote learning environment so kids are successful, family-centered making, coding, and gaming activities, all kinds of things. All of these are 100% free. It was an initiative by the Intel Philanthropic Foundation to put this together to support parents and teachers. So not only is it just for parents, it's for teachers, and we have all kinds of things for you. Now, another thing, here's another supportive choice, and I shared this yesterday in one of my sessions. I absolutely love this new site because it's called Wide Open School. Wide Open School will afford you the opportunity for great, small, snackable content chunks of information to use with your students, whether you're meeting with them through Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Google Meet, whatever your video conferencing of choice is. These are small activities to build stronger content knowledge on a main theme or a concept. It's got great ways of addressing students, whether they have a hearing impairment, whether they have a visual impairment, whether they have a physical impairment, but how to meet them where they're at, but to bring about their best gift of their intellectual knowledge and having them share what they're most passionate about. Some other things too I want to share is just focus on the learning that matters most. We can't do it all. And through remote learning, we have discovered that less is more, but having meaningful conversations, checking in on where kids are at with their healthy social emotional learning. If they're feeling overwhelmed, we need to scale back. If they're all of a sudden having a great day, well then let's drive that home and let's find something that they're truly interested in to work on one or two things to help them be more proficient. Choice boards, and I saw in the back channel chat some of you mentioned choice boards. Please feel free, add any of your choice boards that you've created that you've been successful with kids. Absolutely. Choice boards for student builds student agency. It empowers them. When I build choice boards working with students with differing abilities, we always make sure that yes, there's choice, but there are special choices on that board that will help them build stronger content knowledge. So including those two are important. That one or two is mandatory, that this is something that's going to connect to all the other choices. Let them know that, and it's going to help you make greater gains when learning through the other choices. So choice boards also can be like a tic-tac-toe board. Put a big free space in the middle. And then around the outside of that tic-tac-toe, like on day one, they have to try to get a tic-tac-toe. So they get a free space in the middle, and then they can choose whichever corner or top or bottom row they want to choose from. And completing those two activities and then sharing it back with whatever content management system that you're using. But then by the end of the week, they've covered all of the tic-tac-toe board. So they've covered each of those particular skills. Here's some other things if you haven't seen these before. This is choice boards for students with differing abilities, a dedicated site for choice, which actually works on sequencing, logic, structure, and choice brain breaks with movements. This is a really great site, and I love it because it gives different types of visual learning, and the kids have the choice. And there's also parent skills that are built in. And as we know, that choice is increasing engagement, but even if your child is nonverbal, and working with them, whether maybe they're using pro lo quo, because of where they're at, perhaps on the autism spectrum, but they need the visuals to help them communicate. This is another way to help them communicate with those boards of choice of what you can do, and helping kids make decisions that are easier, and the communication between the parents becomes stronger, and that parents don't stress out about this. Some other choices that I've actually designed, what's beautiful with this is that you can create your own Flipgrid choice boards for learning too. Some of the boards here, this is made by a teacher friend, but this is from the Global Read Aloud Storybook Collection. And then the Flipgrid, what happens here is that I can choose the book, and I can have the book read to me, or I can go on a Flipgrid and I'm responding to what I just listened to. And it's giving children a voice in their learning, but deepening their understanding because they've listened to a story. Now they're reflecting on their thinking, and they can respond into a group Flipgrid that's safe for the children. A few other things, if you want to offer more problem-solving strategies to make that learning more accessible, that's what we need to do. Some of our children love the challenge and love the competition. So because of that, we also need to meet that need for them. Here are some things to look at that as well. And some of you, and I just saw in your chat, you just learned about Flipgrid. I know, Flipgrid is better than chocolate. It truly is. And when kids come in with the video accessibility component, some kids will say, I don't want to be on video. And because of that, video is meaning too that you can put a big smiley face that they can choose to put over their face, but they can still talk and learn. So Flipgrid is built into the Microsoft suite of tools. You can also just go out to flipgrid.com and you'll see how that is as a standalone separate entity. We use Flipgrid a lot as a video component to drive instruction with small, snackable content chunks of information. That's how and why we use it. Now, we mentioned a little bit about Microsoft Immersive Reader. Microsoft Immersive Reader is being built into a lot of apps, and Microsoft is doing a phenomenal job that it helps us with, if I'm talking, it can capture my words, and from there, it can represent so the kids can read it. I can also use it within my documents that if I'm talking, it can also highlight words, or if I have a piece of text, it can also help break apart the words into chunks for children that have dyslexia, giving them more space between words. It can highlight and color code certain portions of words. It can highlight just nouns, highlight verbs, and so on. Through our Microsoft trainings, we have dedicated sessions just on Immersive Reader. So please tap into those because we've got some individuals that are doing that. They wanted me to mention it in here of how it can be used so that you can tap into those sessions too. The other thing that's amazing with our students with special needs, they love virtual tours and virtual field trips. So I've linked into this particular session great areas to tap into of helping our kids learn from experts, going on a world tour and learning from different locations. They just love it. So we've got to give them that choice of opportunity. Now, the other thing, if you haven't seen this site, this is my favorite teaching site for any child of any ability, but it's called Kidlit TV. So kidlittv.com is a beautiful online site that is authors and illustrators of really wonderful stories. And they read aloud their stories with the book. And they actually pause so kids can respond as part of the learning if they're home with their parents or if they're back in the classroom with you. You can embed, taking the Kidlit TV, you can embed that into a presentation so that they can watch it back, or put it back into your content management system. So that could be a choice on a choice board that they listen to a story, then they reflect, or they record in Flipgrid their learning from that. So that's a must if you haven't seen that already. HyperDoc activities or collaborative docs also within Microsoft Documents or within PowerPoint as well as collaborators, helping kids be part of that learning of a student project if they're capable of doing that. Again, we've already mentioned choice time and choice boards as well, but please remember, and I know you as teachers and administrators know this, we have to allow for more brain breaks in between some of that heavier content areas. Some children, as we know, maybe it's 7, 8 minutes if they can retain or maintain that learning and then build in, a 3-minute brain break, whether it's using Go Noodle, whether it is listening to music, whether it's getting up and exercising and moving. One thing that maybe I didn't add in here, there is a Chrome extension that's called Move It. I use that when I'm working with day-long trainings. And once it's an extension, when you go to Move It, that Chrome extension, you can also add it to your Microsoft Edge browser. And when you add it to your Microsoft Edge browser, it will land up into your extension toolbar. And what's beautiful about that is that making sure that you're giving appropriate breaks. You can set it up for every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, and it empowers your kids and you to get up and move around because we're not used to sitting so much, right? So it's going to empower us to be more healthy and active with our learning. Here's a few other things that if you haven't seen this also, Kathy, who's from New Jersey, is just a phenomenal teacher. And she's part of this Microsoft training as well. And I've put the link there for you, but it's 7 ways to make more remote learning accessible for our children. She did a really nice job that she created an emoji of herself and she made it larger. She printed it off and then she embedded into her self picture a QR code. In that QR code, she embedded her own video clip. And what she did is when you could send those home to students, let's say if I send it through physical snail mail, or if I have it up on my website, the kids can hover over the QR code and then a personal message comes out from you as a teacher to greet your students individually and offer them a design challenge or a new tool or resource to use, or just to connect with them emotionally. So that's another way to personalize that learning for your students. And our children love to receive stuff in the mail. I know it costs 50 some cents to send something to the child, but I say that's well worth it. And we should be talking to our schools. Can we have a postal fund? Meaning that, can I send something to each one of my students? Kids love to open that, and that learning opportunity is priceless. I have students that have received full choice boards of activities set up as an emoji or set up as like a Bitmoji so it looks like yourself. And on that choice board of the tic-tac-toe, there was a different QR code for each activity for a different day. They made it accessible online, but then they also sent it home. And the kids had so much fun with interactive scavenger hunts, interactive learning segments with Flipgrid. And then they also did some reflection of creating their own PowerPoint or Google Slides. The other things that we have in there, we've got some teachers that are using TikTok to really resonate that message with kids, and then they build it back into the Bitmoji like Kathy did as that example there. So it's just been a lot of fun. I included some last links here too that it's connecting with other educators. ISTE has done a really nice job, and ISTE stands for the International Society for Technology and Education. They've got a COVID-19 help desk, and they've got a whole strategy, especially when it comes to students with varied and differentiated disabilities and how to meet them where they're at and how to encourage parents to be part of that collaborative process with teachers too. If you're looking for any more remote learning strategies, on Twitter, if you use the hashtag remote learning, you're going to see a whole stream of information that will come up. It's absolutely incredible of all the different strategies that are out there. And I want to make sure that you have a few more tools before the end of this session today too. So structure is important, as we know, but we can do a flexible structure, but routine-based approaches for our children with differing abilities, as we know, is almost best for them. I have a child that lives with me full-time at home. He's 25 years old. Our son is a wounded warrior from the U.S. Army. He has suffered a traumatic brain injury, a pretty severe one, where he's got some very much long-term memory loss, and it's really, really affected his short-term memory. So he is my special needs kiddo, and I tell you, structure for him is important because he feels that's the only thing that he can control in his life when his memory's not working. And so structure is important, that we do our daily schedule. And we build in choice, different things that we can do to build life skills for him in the afternoon and part of the morning. But when we veer off from that structure, if something has to take place, he has a hard time accommodating. So we need to make sure that we build in time to process when there's a change in the schedule. So flexible structure is important, but we need to model that even as parents and teachers, that we need to know, how do we approach that if our schedule changes, and what can we do to streamline that so they're not so filled with anxiety, and then how they feel that they're empowered to take control of that structured schedule again. So again, balance and flexibility are key. Having your own children or students help be part of making that schedule. The more time that they're involved, the more empowered they feel. Smaller chunks is better. Making sure that you have a ritual routine when you wake up. It's important to have good hygiene skills, having a good healthy breakfast, making sure that kids are responsible. They should be cleaning their room. They should be helping out with family chores. There needs to be something happening there that kids feel like, I'm part of the schedule and I'm making a more beautified home environment. And then that communication helps at home too. Mind and body balance. Any time that you can involve more stress relieving activities, a family walk, yoga, workout routines, breathing techniques, that's really helped our son, because if something changes, he gets a little apprehensive, and you can just see, and he kind of goes like this. He doesn't get angry. He just can't control his schedule, but he does this to let us know that things aren't so well. And so we have to breathe. And when we breathe, it focuses on our breathing and it calms and relaxes us. So some other things too, make sure, yes, we have academics, but small chunks of academics in the morning and afternoon. Make sure that creative choice time is built in, having the kids be empowered to build something, make something, create, and share with the world. Again, also I have spring cleaning down, but it can be summer, it can be fall, whatever you'd like. But regular routines of little household family tasks are important, the same way household family tasks in your classroom when we get back, because kids should be part of that cleaning, to making sure our germs are not getting around everything. So a few other things I wanted to share. This was a Bitmoji that one of my teacher friends shared with me. And we just want to make sure that making an activity extraordinary out of the everyday ordinary. So even if you're doing social emotional learning with your students, and that health and cognitive sense of maintaining balance, we need to make sure that kids have a choice. So you can build in, even to your PowerPoint slide deck or your Google slide deck, that you can create a slide that's very interactive with choice. The more visuals, the better for some of our kids, because sometimes the text is too heavy, and especially your children with an impairment, if it's dyslexia, or if it's children having having a hard time reading large text, visual impairment. Sometimes a larger picture just to click and to interact with is really important, that they feel they're having that choice. You can embed video clips, you can embed sound files, you can embed also choice boards right within here too, and then get up and movement actions for them, so which is wonderful. Other making an activity extraordinary out of the everyday ordinary. I would greatly say that this is an opportunity that you can connect with your kids with a purpose. And with this purpose, what is so important right now is that kids can see you in another light, that they have consistency because they remember the classroom. And remembering that they have that consistency makes them feel safe. At the bottom corner that we have, this is a teacher that actually had a paraprofessional and a speech pathologist that was in her classroom. So for that particular student, she wanted to set up a class that resonated of all of the specialty individuals that were part of that learning, to continue to support that student. So it made it the streamlining to the remote learning for the parents so much easier, because the consistency, they knew where the bookshelf was, we knew where the whiteboard was, we knew that where my sensory table was. So it really worked out. Facebook has a wonderful Bitmoji classroom. If you haven't seen it, I'd say be part of it because there's so many examples that are meeting the needs of children with differing abilities, and they've done a really nice job. And those teachers will allow you to copy their boards, and then you can customize it from there. Some other things, we need to keep those friendships going to build that relationships, even when we're not face to face. Relationships are the key to all learning, the safety and the emotional connections with parents and students. And we need to keep it up and we need to be highly communicative. So because of that, I have and more activities for you. This is a book that I wrote in April and part of March because when the pandemic hit, and it's like, I have got to give back to my teacher friends because they were constantly contacting me and they said, Naomi, we need your help. I don't know how to do this. So what I did is I put together, it's called an Innovative Blending Ideas book. It's created in Book Creator. And Book Creator, oh my goodness, teachers, that is such a powerful tool to allow kids to tell their stories and build a book collaboratively, even with children. I build my books right now working with teachers as we co-teach, but then I build these with my women leaders that work part-time for my company. And what we do is we build interactive newsletters and booklets this way to share out every best practice that we have modeled during remote teaching and learning. One of our most effective strategies is that we built handmade QR code postcards. So we took a postcard, we physically designed it, we embedded the QR code and had it printed, or you could actually cut it out and actually physically paste it on. But we built that in to showcase to teachers that you can send physical postcards home and that could be an activity of the week for your children, or send it out every 2 weeks. But kids love to receive things in the mail. But I have all kinds of opportunities here for you. I also mentioned earlier with my granddaughter, we use Marco Polo. It's a video chat app. And my whole family is part of that circle. And then little Maddie Ann, she can leave me a video anytime to share all of her excitement when she's learning. I can watch it in real time or I can watch it after the fact, after I'm done teaching for the day. And then I can record like even storytelling moments. I read a book to her at night and she may even be in bed by this time. That's by tomorrow night, then she could watch that video archive very quickly and we can still connect. So I just can't thank you enough for the time and opportunity to share these best practices with you. Please feel free to share more content in the back channel chat that if you have questions, and I will be pulling this presentation back so that we can have some real life conversations. I have everything here with you that if you want to tap into the link of the entire slide deck today, I have that embedded in this presentation. I added it in the back channel chat. I've got the links from my Blended Learning Ideas book, the remote learning strategy guides, and also the ASCD remote learning guides I have for you as well. Okay, I do have some concluding videos if you want to learn more how Generation Z has been impacted by the coronavirus. CBSN had done a really interesting impact on how this is affecting all of our communities and how it's going to affect our future workforce. So this is something that you may want to tap into as well as an extension activity. And then I have one all on the research of our kids for the next Gen Z, and it's coming from the McCrindle Research Foundation as well. So I'm going to pull this back at this time. So I'll stop sharing that particular screen so I can come back to each and every one of you. We're still recording at this time. I'm going to bring up the back channel chat so in case I can answer any questions that you have, that you could have more choice and voice in your learning. Okay, and any other connections that you have. Thank you for those that shared the YouTube video links as well. I appreciate your effort for doing that. Yeah, and the Q YouTube channel, everything will be archived and recorded. Yes. Okay. And the link to the PowerPoint presentation, I can also put it here again. I do have it at the very top of the chat. Whoops, just a minute. You know what I'm sharing? I just shared the YouTube channel. So let me give you the other one. Let me go back to my link and I'll get it for you. I want to make sure that you do have this today. So I'm going to go back in. I'm also going to go get the link and I'll paste it again for you to have, but it should be at the top of that chat. But let's just make sure that you have the correct link. And thanks for trying Pear Deck with me today. We're going to continue working on that and making sure that we can use that futuristically so that you can have that engagement. It's really important. I'm going to copy this link that I have on this side. I'm going to open up our back channel chat area again. And here is the main presentation for you. There you go. Should have it there now. Okay. Yes, my next training, actually, you know what? I get a 2-week break. I have been presenting since May nonstop until June 30th. So I'm going to have a break. I have a total of 30 webinars that they're having me do over this time period, and I absolutely enjoy it. I'm teaching everything from special education to K through 12, almost every subject area. But I do a lot with remote teaching and learning. So I have some other sections just for elementary, just for middle school, just for high school. And then I have some dedicated sessions we did earlier on how to create your own Microsoft Word coloring book as a social emotion learning approach to meet the needs of children. So all of my archive sessions, again, you can go to q.org/Microsoft, scroll to the bottom of the page, and then you'll see where you can view all the archive sessions. You can reach out to me anytime. This is my email. I usually am pretty responsive within 48 hours. So this is naomiharm.org. That is my email. Feel free to email me anytime to continue the conversation. Let's brainstorm. Let's bounce ideas off of one another. But again, it's all for the kids, right? And it's all for your teachers to offer them the best professional development learning opportunities to build their confidence so they feel successful moving forward. Yeah, the other SPED presentations, I always include in my presentations. I always do a component of that I always cover. Absolutely. You bet. I will lead. I will never leave any child out. And it's important that they are always included. Yes. Okay. All right. At this time, if you have any other questions, feel free. If you want to turn on your microphones, ask the question. Glad to help you out in any way I can. I'm going to look through the chat just a little bit further here in case I have anything else. Okay.
Naomi, it's Mary.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Mary. How are you today?
I am good. I'm
Okay.
good. I just want to say, I know you've presented so much and you have a long road ahead of you, but I will tell you, I'm looking forward to every session. I
Mary.
try to jump off of other things that I'm doing because I'm working and I'm a part of other organizations, but I try my best to kind of stagger my schedule so that I can make sure I get to your sessions. Excellent every time.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. You have filled my heart with gratitude today, Mary. Oh my goodness, I am so thankful. I'm so thankful. And I really truly believe together we are better. We cannot know it all. But knowing what I've learned from teachers during even this whole time and being an educator myself for 25 years, I want to bring you and afford you the opportunity of every best practice that I've learned in working with these children with differing abilities. And now even my own sense of knowing my child, who is my youngest son out of 3 boys, that is severely disabled due to the Army accident that he was in, but knowing that we're learning together and knowing that I can share those experiences because he's got the cognitive level of what a middle schooler now. But knowing what works and what doesn't, I want to share those strategies so I can help you be successful. That's what's important.
Thank you.
Yes. 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 Teacher friends, some of you have asked, Naomi, is there a certificate for this? Do you know what? I can make one for you. So because of that, this whole thing with Microsoft, they thought it was going to be too cumbersome. And it can be because we've got thousands and thousands of teachers attending. Again, if you email me at naomi@naomiharm.org, I can follow up within 48 hours of a dedicated and detailed certificate for you. So I'm going to put this here. But not a problem at all. So I can get you a certificate. And because of that, I know some of you have to have that documentation for your school districts. That's not a problem. We'll put down the date, we put down the length, we put down the topic and the main kind of the objective overview. And I can send that to you through a PDF that I would attach back to your email. So not a problem. So absolutely can help you out with that. Okay, any other questions, teacher friends, where we're at today? I know I kept you over the hour, so thanks for hanging in there with me. Okay, so once again, Kim and Celia and Beth, and I've got Lilia again. I got Mary on with me. I've got Tracy. Thank you so much for joining today. We had a full house. There was a lot on at one time. Again, reach out with any questions. Share your strategies too. I want to continue to learn from you with what's working and what's not working so we could just solve that problem. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, Beth, great to hear too that it's reassuring that you're on the right track. Yes. And remember, less is more right now. Less is more. We've got to first focus on that social emotional learning of those children, helping them feel safe, build that confidence, and feel that they can be an active contributor of their learning environment because they will be our future creators of our amazing and big, beautiful world, right? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a glorious day. Together, we're better. And I can't wait to see you on my next session, which should be, I believe it's July 13th. So I get about 2 weeks off right now, and then I will join the fun again with all of you. So be well, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Naomi.
Thank you.
You're really amazing, Naomi. Thank you so much.